This first chapter is called 6 Easy Rules, and that's the state of mind. And I will kind of run through them for you now, and I think perhaps they will frame the discussion we'll have with the Dean and Dr. Basu. The first is that the need, the requirement that if you're going to engage publicly in whatever kind of context it is, right, that you have to continuously possess what one of my interviewees, Judge Rovner, who I believe the Dean knows, first woman on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals in based in Chicago, what she called raw, pure desire, right? She happens to be a friend, and when I interviewed her and talked to her about this, and she said that, I kind of like stood up in my chair, right? I said, whoa, over the breakfast table, we're talking about raw, pure desire. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is being willing to outwork the competition every day. And I tell several stories in the book, but one of them that I think is current is about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the first woman elected chair of the Democratic National Committee, who, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, said to her family and friends, I will decide what I'm capable of doing. I'm not going to listen to the people who are saying to me, sit back, don't go to that meeting, don't take that phone call. Of course, if she didn't feel well, she wouldn't. But she knew that to achieve her goals, she had to outwork the competition. Third, that you must be willing to win the same way men do. This is a game, that is to say politics, that in which men predominate, in which men have had a much longer history. Women only received the vote less than 100 years ago, as you know. So this is a political playbook written by men, mostly run by men, and we need to learn it too. The fourth rule is that while you're running that playbook the way the men do, going back to this theme about sisterhood is powerful, it is this, that you will win when you are with and for women, right? You are with them, you represent their cause, you understand what they are looking for in their public servants, you seek to give it to them, you are for them. What's the point otherwise, is how I would phrase it. The fifth rule is to understand, as Senator Landrieu, the senior senator from Louisiana, told me when I interviewed her, every day is election day. People are sizing you up every day. And that's totally fair. You're not in that position by divine right. You're there to serve. So winning is not a one-off, right? So that's the next thing. That just because you're sitting in that big chair behind that big desk today doesn't mean you get to sit there forever. And rule number 6 is that the acts of campaigning and governing are 2 very different experiences. So that most importantly, when you're campaigning, if you're a good candidate or if you're seeking an appointed office, you're going to say, well, this is my agenda, right? These are the things I want to get done. This is why you should vote for me or appoint me. And then you may get into office, as for instance our president has and many others have, and find that everything you wanted to do you can't get done, or you can't get it done on a timetable you said you would try to meet. And so the thing here is to recognize that yes, you have a commitment to state an agenda. Yes, you have a commitment once you're in that office to get it done. But if you cannot get it done in every way that you wish, that a duty remains to serve the people, right? So in my view here, the campaigning and the governing are not the same, except insofar as that continuous duty to serve. I want to now move to introductions of Dean Testy and Dr. Basu, and then we'll all come together at this table and chat for a while, and then open up the floor and engage in a conversation with you. So I'm going to read these lovely biographies so that you know just who they are. And I'll start with Dean Testy, since she is hosting us. Kellye Testy is the first woman to join the distinguished group of permanent law school deans at the University of Washington. A prolific scholar, outstanding teacher, and experienced dean, Dean Testy came to the UW, right? In 2000, I have a brother who graduated from here. I have undergraduate, another brother who went to the business school. I should know this, right? Her research and scholarship focus on contracts, corporate governance, business entities, leadership, and access to justice. She is known throughout the academic and legal communities for her dedication to the rule of law and her commitment to justice and equality. Dean Testy graduated summa cum laude from the University of Indiana School of Law, where she was editor-in-chief of the Law Journal. John H. Edwards, University Fellow, Chancellor's Scholar, and a member of Order of the Coif, which, for those of you who may not know, is an honor society. During law school, she worked for Kirkland & Ellis in Chicago, and after graduation, she clerked for Judge Jesse Eschbach in the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Seventh Circuit. At the end of her clerkship, she began her academic career, joined the faculty of Seattle University Law School, and became its dean in 2005. Dean Testy has received numerous honors and awards, including the President's Award from the Washington State Bar Association, the Washington Women Lawyers, and the King County Women Lawyers. She has also received the Washington State Trial Lawyers Public Justice Award and 3 Outstanding Teacher Awards. She is currently focusing her scholarship on corporate law and governance and on leadership, topics for which she is a frequent invited speaker. She serves on the Executive Committee of the American Association of Law Schools and as a board member of a number of legal and civic organizations. Dr. Sutapa Basu is the Executive Director of the University of Washington Women's Center and co-chair of its Task Force Against Human Trafficking. Dr. Basu, one of the founders of the anti-human trafficking movement in Washington State, is instrumental in policy development and public awareness campaigns on the issue of human trafficking here in Washington. In 2001, under Dr. Basu's leadership, the UW Women's Center hosted the first ever human trafficking conference in Washington. As a direct result, new protections for mail-order brides were established, and for the first time in history, human trafficking was criminalized on the state level. Since then, countless bills have been introduced and instituted, furthering the protection of human trafficking victims, and the UW Women's Center continues to work towards expanding the movement to encompass all forms of forced labor beyond sexual exploitation. Dr. Basu's areas of academic specialization are women in developing economies and international development. She is passionate about women's human rights and works extensively with women's groups, both locally and in India, to promote girls' education, gender equality, food security, sustainable development, and social justice. She also serves on numerous boards and committees, such as her recent appointment to Seattle's Gender Equity Pay Task Force, convened by Mayor McGinn. She has received several local and national awards for her human and women's rights work, including the United Nations Human Rights Award. So if you will join me and we'll have our discussion.